Islam, 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 and welcome to more MHHS-Eyes Wide Open. This is your host, Anna-Ida L., along with my co-host, Mizraim Aleph L.
Peace and love, Islam, nobles. Peace and love, Anna-E, Moor worldwide. Definitely
Islam.
Tonight. Islam.
All right. And RVBey. Raz, are you there? Islam, Raz, did you mute your phone?
Must be having some technical difficulties.
All righty. All right. Well, we'll wait. Wait for her to come resolve. Oh, peace. Is something wrong with your phone?
No, I had it on mute and didn't realize it was still on mute.
Oh.
Now, think you always do.
I know. I do.
It's on peace and love to all.
All righty. And Kujo Azwael.
Islam, Moors, peace and love.
Islam.
Peace and love. Iron Sheik.
All righty. Want to first let everyone listening via the internet that the chat room is open. Big shout out to our internet listeners, family listener over in Great Britain, South Africa, Japan, the Philippines, the Netherlands, Brazil, Venezuela, Cuba, and to family in near different corporate locations that we have yet to connect with. Big shout out to our callers. Thank you so much for joining us each week, filling up the phone lines before the show even begins. Peace and love, and thank you so much for joining us, sharing, building, and as we all uplift, forming humanity together. All right, before we get started,
before you
I'm
say
getting
that,
some feedback.
I don't know what that is about.
I'm getting some feedback.
Do you hear like my voice echoing?
I'm not sure who it is.
Okay, sure. Well, if I sound clear, I just want to also say in conjunction with all the acknowledgments, happy belated born day to Cujo as well. We didn't miss you with that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Love,
all right.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't tell nobody. See that? Go ahead, miss.
Nah. Cujo be moving on the low for real. As much work as he do, he be on the low. But you know what I mean? Can't escape that universal detection. So, brother, happy born day, man. Turn it up, bro. Islam. I just need to add that on.
All right. All right. Oh, that's right. All right. Well, before we get into the subject of our show, we always make a public announcement of Moors who have been kidnapped and are being held hostage for income. These are Moors who have been kidnapped by the employees of these various corporations that we have been miseducated to believe are government, when in fact they are simply hired contractors. They have no judicial authority. They have no government authority either. However, they are kidnapping the people off of the street, literally putting them and extorting income from them under various means disguised as, some sort of lawful activity when it is not. So what we do to bring awareness is to make a public announcement of the Moors we have a record of, along with the corporation that has kidnapped, or I should say the name of the corporation that the employee is operating through that has kidnapped them, and the union state that is in purview of that corporation, because the union states are bound to protect the people, all people, from foreign and domestic invasion. So we start with our sister RVBey, who was kidnapped through a joint venture between Memphis and Shelby Corporation under the purview of Tennessee, Daoud Ill under the purview of Arkansas, and if I don't know where the feedback is coming from, but I'm getting some feedback.
It sounds like, what mic are you using? It sounds like when you talk, the feedback is coming.
Yeah, because I'm muted my mic as well.
Yeah.
Hold on.
It sounds like if you have that wire, maybe, that it's touching something, if you're using that, or whatever.
No, okay, I just unplugged my mic, and I'm still hearing it.
I'm going to mute my NZ.
All right, Cujo, you're the culprit.
Sorry. I'll be on mute then. I'll be on mute.
All right. Here we go. All right. So if we don't have the corporation name, then we just reference the union state that the Moor is in purview. I mean, the corporate that is obligated to protect the people. So we have Amir Mozamin Il and Kusura Kushbey under the purview of Missouri, Asar Patah Amin Rabe under the purview of Ohio, Jeremy Taylor Il, Terry Thornbay Il, J. Mikal Brooks Bay, Joseph Kanaday Il, Kushabir Bunch Il, Emmanuel Billings Bay, Yasin Khalik Alamin Il, and Michael Curry Bay, all under the purview of North Carolina. Noble Crisco Il under the purview of New Jersey, Messiah Aziz Il and Crisco Il through a joint venture with both of them was kidnapped through a joint venture between Mercer, Freehold, and Trenton Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. We haven't had an update regarding Patricia Bay's baby that was kidnapped by the Atlantic Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. We're still waiting on that. Eldridge Tehran Fish.
No, I just wanted to let you know, sister is still fighting. You know what I mean? But,
all right.
But as of now, step one is pretty clear because she got herself out of the situation as of now and is still fighting. So I'm pretty sure she will be reunited with her descendants as well.
All right. Peace. Eldridge Tehran Fisher Il and Marquis Sevion Il under the purview of Indiana. Solomon Ilbay and Mumi Abube under the purview of Texas. William Barrett Il under the purview of Virginia. Momani Abidwil Il kidnapped by the Chesapeake Corporation under the purview of Virginia. Shay Bay under the purview of West Virginia. Thomas Lee Bay under the purview of California. And Victor Eduardo Avalle Waters Il kidnapped by Harlem Corporation under the purview of Virginia. Those are the and I got a new listing, but I don't have a free national appellation, so that's all I have for now. If there are any Moors that you would like added to this list who have been kidnapped and are being held hostage for income, and you would like them added to this list, send an email to MHHS-Eyes-Wide-Open@gmail.com, and in the subject line put kidnapped Moor. All right, so today's broadcast is an interesting one.
Go ahead. Quickly, one quick interjection. I just wanted to put out there that Brother Messiah said Islam to all the Moors. I spoke with him on the weekend.
Wait a minute.
Oh, wonderful.
He spoke with him on three-way with another brother, and his circumstances, but he's doing all right. He said, as soon as he gets somewhere, they're supposed to be transferring somewhere that he has access to internet. So once he gets there, we'll be sending out, email, and so people could get stuff to him, because you need some literature and whatever else in there. So,
I just have not that we're going to have that full discussion, but have they actually sentenced or so-called sentenced them, or are they still just there? I think they're still just there right now. That's.
I think they're still just there. So I think he said, if I'm not mistaken, August or October or something like that.
Yeah, but they keep doing that. They keep doing that, and then changing it, and then whatever, and that's how they extend. Also, I think their financial income base, by doing that. That's one reason. Yeah. Because they can't really sentence them anyway, so they put it off, and then before you know, they're like, oh, well, you can go. You know what I mean? That it's really a racket for real.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is that. Is there any way that we can communicate with him? I mean, how did you?
Well, he had called me through his cousin on three-way.
Yeah. Oh. He's saying that once he gets where he has better, access.
Yeah, he's gonna reach out again and get all the numbers and whatever else he has to get. Cause we're only on the phone for maybe 5 minutes or something.
Yeah. All right. So we just have to wait.
Yeah.
All righty. All right. Well,
thanks for bringing that information. Let me just say this. Thanks for bringing that, Cujo. That's in the energy because my mind, I was really thinking about them. We can talk later, but I even reached out to a text to the sister to see if she had any information. So thanks for that. It's all in your mind. It's all in the air, right?
Most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
All righty. All right. Well, today's broadcast is an interesting one, I think, as they all are. All the broadcasts are interesting, informative, thought, provoking, and today's is no less. The prophet talked to us about this electrifying age of information, and we are in the electrifying age of information. And because of that, there needs to be, or there must be, ambitious Moors who utilize current information that benefits the family. And today we have just one more, actually, who's going to give us some information relative to different activities, geared toward the electrifying information. And I trust that we will all benefit from that. So what I'd like to do is to bring on Brother Jonathan Bey. Islam, are you there, Brother Jonathan?
I think Miz has an intro that he wants to do before you bring him on.
Well, that is fine.
Yeah. You know what? I talked about it, and I just want to say, because it's so unique, it's so beautiful, it's so different from what we usually talk about. All I wanted to do was just basically lay out a foundation of why I personally am excited and have a lot of respect for this particular conversation that we're about to go into tonight. First and foremost, let me say that from the actions, they say actions speak louder than words, and we have a lot of active Moors, but there's so many ramifications to be active on. you know. And the reason why I respect this brother that is about to come on and those in his cipher who are helping him do what he's done and will do is they took another level because, and I suggest, excuse me, I have to digress for a moment. I suggest that people look up Cujo's Friday the 13th, 12720 Moors class, and the level of activity that our guest tonight has and has already manifested has to be respected, because this is a perfect example of Moors being active on so many levels and in different branches or ramifications than just fighting, you know, parking tickets or just, you know, like the brethren is a scientist, all right, and using the science and advancement, because like I said last week, as of now, there's a lot of people who are about to be left back. And it's not just because I'm saying that. It's because when you take a post like this particular brother is like, he's like a phonendoscope to the Moorish movement, and then provided a venue, a certain digital venue, which also encompasses technology for Moors to communicate on. So with that being said, he took the activity to another level, because I'll let him explain, but the level of activity and the service that this brother is providing, free, you know, as far as how Moors can utilize this, which the brother will definitely explain. I'm just thankful, because you take a person, or excuse me, you take a being such as myself who is not interested in being on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or things of that nature. Mm-hmm. I am personally inspired on another level because my Moorish family said I'm providing this venue amongst, you know, for everybody, you know, whoever you are, is for you, but being as though this has a Moorish spirit on it, it gave me a wake-up call like, bro, coming to the new age, you know what I mean? So I think that a lot of us should be inspired by what has been done. The brother is explaining, or will explain tonight, to catch up to modern day.
App, though. You know,
hold on. Yeah, no, it's the Moorish mobile app. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It is the Moorish mobile app, and the brother will explain that, right?
And we're honored to be on there, too, on that app. We certainly are. As
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's an honor, and it's inspiring at the same time. All right? It's an honor, and it's inspiring, because what we could take is so many lessons we could take from what this brother did and those amongst him to actually make this manifest as far as being active. So, yes, indeed, it's an honor, and it's also futuristic. This is a visionary that is going to be on the line with us tonight, explaining a few things, how we can be involved with the virtual platform of network for Moors and others all across the globe. And I just feel inspired because just yesterday, and I'm going to yield the floor, I don't want to be long-winded with this, but just to give examples of what he did, not just what is what the benefits of the usage of it is, but what he actually did is inspiring, because I see that, you know, we are natural people, and we tend to, you know, sometimes stay in those ancient ways, but at the same time, we're in a new age. This is an age of Aquarius, which we haven't been in hundreds of thousands of years. So my
what
thing
is now would you really call it?
The electrifying age of information. Right. So with all of this being considered, there has to be a certain respect for this brother and what he's providing, what he's done, what we can utilize based off of what they've done, the research, the application, and being active in this electrifying age of information. Because, say, again, like someone like myself, I might not want to be a part of, the European Twitter program or, the European Facebook program and things of that nature. I'm not disrespecting it, and I'm not saying it doesn't have its benefits, but it's an extra motivation for me to see, all right, a Moor basically provided the same platform. Why wouldn't I support that? You know what I mean? If you were ever considering going on these things. So all I'm saying is that the family that is dealing with this science and making it available for us to utilize through a Moorish endeavor, I think is very inspiring and takes being active to a whole nother level. You know what I mean? And it's dealing with the blueprint that Noble Drew Ali laid down, multiple galactic levels, whereas, and we briefly spoke about this, but when you look at everything Noble Drew Ali brought, science was in the heading, all right? Science is in the heading. So whether it's Moor's Holy Temple of Science, all right, or Moor's Science Temple of America, let's take everything else away and look at the word science, all right, and see how this brethren, which is a Moor, is dealing with that. And I think that before we even go to the conversation, that as many levels as it can be respected on and honorable on, that as Moors, being Moors, knowing about the Negro, Black, and Color brand, we have to celebrate and acknowledge that we have scientists out here, who are on a global mission. So before we even speak about anything else, I just personally wanted to give that recognition to this conversation we could have tonight, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of jewels dropped. I mean, we're going to take it basic and let the brother explain how we can get involved with this app, this Moorish mobile app. And again, this brethren has been doing many things, Moorish directory, activemoors.com, and it's appreciated. So I just want to let that be made known for the record before we even ask any questions, because most of the time, we're going hard on law, history, current events and things of that nature. But to be able to take the moment to acknowledge our brethren and our sistren who is on a global mission right now, I personally feel honored to even be here on this conversation. So, again, salute to the brethren and the rest of the Moorish family for endeavoring on such a subject as having a Moorish mobile app, and the brethren explain the ramifications that go with the app. So with that being said, I just wanted to show my respect and honor for the possibility to even have this conversation with a Moor that is beneficial to Moors and those who don't know who they are, everybody. You know what I mean? So with that being said, I respectively yield the floor and respect what's going on in this electrifying age of information. And last thing, pardon me, I also feel as though it's imperative, and I shared this with you all, because right now the timing of it, where we're going to looking forward, like I said last week, we are looking forward, all right, 2020 vision, 2016 Gregorian calendar year, 2020 as far as, time marks is not that far away. And just as recent as yesterday, you have different attorneys that are hiring robots now to be in, their congregation. And if you think I'm slacking or just saying something random, just check out First Robot Attorney, Ross Corporation, all right? So what I'm saying is I trust that Moors be inspired not just by what we see and what we can do, but the energy and the thought that was behind what this particular family did and how can utilize that. But more than anything, appreciate the thought that went into making this happen. So with that being said, I want to respectively yield the floor, but I just see it as this is a clear sign of Moors advancing with the times, and it's an imperative thing, because if not, we're going to get left back, you know. So I just salute the activity, and at this particular point, I do yield the floor to segue to Brethren or any other intro. Islam.
Just a quick
Islam.
Cujo, would you get ready to say something?
Yeah. Just a quick add-on to what Brother Miz was saying. We've also had a lot of individuals who wear turbans and feathers that are trying to downplay what the brothers do.
Go ahead. Somebody's losing something. Go ahead and stop.
There's Moors out there. There's Moors out there that are trying to downplay what the brothers doing, and some of these Moors are affiliated with other associations, groups, etc. You know, that we build with. So we want to employ the people to make sure that they go check it out for themselves. Don't take anybody's word for what the site is, what could it do, what can it do, what the app is, whatever he says, and just leave it at that. Make sure you go check it out to see if it's beneficial to you to utilize what's being presented. Because, you know, to speak for myself, when the brother showed me the level of scientist that he is, he's the one that built the Will of Allah website. So everybody out there who's supported, you know, Iron Music and went to the site and downloaded and got your download, or you had some issue and then you had to send an email to somebody for them to fix the download problem or whatever, this was the brother. So you've already been involved in it. So it's nothing new. If you've been buying Iron Sheik music since Iron Sheik 1, then it's nothing new. This is just another add-on to what we've already been doing. And again, like Brother Miz was saying, brother's a scientist with you know, this is one level of expertise that he has. Right? This is one level of adequate that he has, that majority of Moors, you know, aren't really on because we're just not. But he is the you know, the Imhotep for the Moors today, the online Imhotep. So take, you know, get your pens or whatever like that, write down whatever you got to write down to make sure that the brother gets 100% support in what he's doing. And as well, just like Drew Ali said, we need finance. Don't be shy to, you know, support it financially, because websites don't run for free, even though he's offering it to us for free. Websites don't run for free. You know what I mean? Hosting isn't free. When you have a www, you paid something for that. Right? So make sure that you support. Don't you know, look at this like when whatever these technological stuff, you hear people saying that they want to get in on the ground floor. I mean, they want to get in before everybody else gets in. Okay, this is what we're looking at with this.
And it's
like
specific for more.
Get in. Yeah, this is the time to get, you know, the boat hasn't left the dock yet. But this boat will leave the dock, and this is a speedboat. There's not no sails and stuff like that. So if you want to get down, you better get down with this early, because it is going to be extremely beneficial to Moors when Moors realize what it is that the brother did.
Yeah.
Then I'll yield the floor on that.
Islam. We had to bring that great intro to you, Brother Jonathan. So
Islam.
Everybody had something to say, but now Yeah,
that was wonderful. That was wonderful. Good evening, family. I'm truly honored to be here. I'm a lucky man, I'll tell you. There is, without a doubt, something blowing through the air. Ain't no doubt about it. And Brother Cujo was exactly correct relative to things being at the ground level. And what I realized a long time ago is that, there are those people who can see the trees from the forest. Then there are those who climb the tree and those who even get out on the limb. But I've always been one that I prefer to jump and stitch my parachutes on the way down and trust for a prevailing wind. So when we're talking about things at the ground level, sometimes you have to build the ground level. You have to lay the cornerstones. You have to create those mechanisms that stand as the infrastructure, to be those functional socio-economic cosmologies that allow for possibility to exist. This presents then for our youth and future minds to have vehicles, mechanisms by which to demonstrate their creativity. And we are not on the cusp. We are right at our Horus zone right now.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the rejuvenating, the reanimating of our legacy. And this is the new Moorish Renaissance, this paradigm that we're in right now. That's
right. That's right. That is so right. That is so right. I was telling Ms. earlier, too, I don't remember the quote exactly, but I was watching something, and it was a quote that said something about sometimes we live in the past and in the present without recognizing what the future is or that we're in it. Now, we know that the present right now creates the future, but we don't always think about that. We do things without realizing that, that is what the future is based on what you do at this one moment, So.
Absolutely. And we're at a point right now, Sister Roz, where we are breaking molds simultaneously as we are forging molds.
Mm-hmm.
And that dual activity is one that allows for a fresh and new mind to find itself in this new environment. Case in point, if we're considering something that has not yet been conceived, then it's beyond our vision. But if we create those mechanisms and vehicles that allows for another to get out there and view over the obelisk cavern and think of mechanisms and ways in which to bridge certain gaps and synapses, in our society, our Moorish society. Those things, one thing is going to lead to another, that leads to another, that leads to another. That's why I always say that a good working network is a net that's working.
That you know what? That's wow. That's a great thing you just said. It's a net that's working. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And that's what of us individually are. And I'm saying each as in everyone who may have ears on this and those that don't.
Mm-hmm.
That each one is a knot in that web. And each one is part of the chain. And none are any more important than the other.
Right.
All are just as valuable as the next. Now, I really do appreciate that glowing introduction that I was provided. Certainly feel very humble about that. I was standing on the porch here, and I thought that I might have to go inside just in case I get my head to the door. I do appreciate the kind words that were bestowed to me, very much so. But I guarantee you that this has been approached as a very serious and critical matter, but also one that's been enjoyable because I have been provided the energy to sustain myself through those, and I'm sure that some of you recognize that, it takes long hours. It takes sometimes you'll get up at 5 in the morning, and then you work through maybe until 5 in the morning. You'll take hours, and you'll start again. And then you do that full court press continuously for as long as it takes in order to accomplish whatever is in your chain of bringing to fruition. Now, you had mentioned the directory, and that we have the app, which has in it 21 resources now. The key I consider as a vehicle and mechanism for positive productivity as well. Then we have, of course, the Moorish social network by way of activemoors.com. And very recently we've made an acquisition, and we began the process of actually communicating with people as well as starting the actual building of this particular next infrastructure, and that is the Moorish Learning Centers, which will be virtual classrooms. And that would allow for everyone with a skill, with something to share, with something to teach another, to have a place wherein they can go and actually conduct classes in their own classrooms and have at their disposal all of the resources that a teacher would need, testing, resources, everything that you can imagine that would be for what we would call a modern online university-style tools, but make it available for the common person, common individual, the more who wants to teach someone how to do whatever it might be that they do. It could be anything from you name it, a trade or a craft, without going into a litany of what it might be. Just use your imagination, but this would be a vehicle for that. So there are all of these things, as I said, connected together because it is about building that. And when I use, excuse me for a moment, but just to step back, it's really key when we use the term functional. Okay, these aren't just colorful words. Okay, they all have meaning. And when I say socio-economic is extremely important for us to grasp what that means. Now, we've had opportunity to get familiar with the social networks and Zuckerberg's environment that he built and the rest. And it was naturally time for a Moorish environment made by Moors for Moors to come into being, because basically that's what time it is. This is structuring our future cosmology. And while we're at this cosmogony state, the genesis of it, we can think as long-reaching as we wish and then set our goals on that, because it's only limited by our imaginations. And that's factual. We are the creators. We're not replicators. Okay? We are nor perpetrators or any of those gators. We are the original Aboriginal on this planet, worldwide, globally. And it has just, similarly, the cycle has come back around. That's natural. So we are now here where it was professed that we would be. But nothing is a guarantee. That of which the professor, Drew, our noble prophet, was explaining that we have a possibility, not an inevitability. So it's incumbent upon us to ensure that we take full advantage of every resource that is availed to us in order for us to actuate, what in fact these possibilities might be. And that's basically what we're trying to do, is actually create things you can touch. We have been in a somewhat of a dialogue loop for so long where we've kind of gotten used to theorizing opposed to implementing and placing things into application, because you always have the information era before you have the application era. That doesn't mean to stop gathering information, teaching, and learning by any means. We never stop that. That never ceases. That should be until the day you transition. But what we do need to do is to begin the process, activity, the action of implementing that which we have theorized. And that's where we are. So with respect to the app, that within itself, it's a simple tool, relatively, but it avails a great deal for one who, might choose to use it. It's available on Android as well as iPhone. You can use it on your iPads. And this is something where you can, if you're, just as an example, let's say that you are standing in line somewhere and like the long lines that are at the airports these days. Well, if you have the Moorish app with you, you're not for want. You have so many things that you can study and so many places you can go. You can even go into the chat rooms and start communicating with other Moors if you wish to do that. Or you can apply yourself to studying of the Quran or Circle 7 or the Constitution or the Zodiacal Constitution or any of the tools that are there. But we also have practical tools that are in there, such as the human rights card that an individual could use if they were needing to do so. And we also have in there the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. We also have some documents in there that will assist someone if they are trying to wake someone else up. Those documents, such as the proclamations from some of the mayors or Mayor Rahm Emanuel. We have the actual article of incorporations for the U.S.A. And these are the types of things that you can bring out and you can actually show someone when you're having communications with them, because we don't always just carry our briefcases around with us,
right?
So that we can bring all of this stuff out. But if it's in a little handy app, we can at any point in time bring out what it is that we need to reference to. If we're talking about the Constitution or whatever it might be within the scope of the resources that they have, or go out to, Sister's Public Records site, go out Moorish Public Records, go out to RVBey, and experience all of the jewels that you'll. It's a simple concept, but one that is functionally applicable to our current needs, I believe. And it makes it easier for one to have, I'll put it like this, there are less excuses when we have these resources at our disposal. Because we no longer have, now it's time where we won't have those arguments about as to why there can't be certain communications going on. Because we do have ways in which we can create virtual environments, go in and have particular dialogues, talks, conventions, and what have you. They're there. And for those Moors out there that are feeling isolated, that's been very common. This begins to remove that. Because as we were having a conversation earlier today, that you have brother or sister that's in one of these towns that doesn't even have a stoplight. But by way of these vehicles, especially what I am hoping with the energy of the Moors, that they will, proliferate the information, which would allow for others to come in and take even more advantage of it, as well as that information that's in the chamber. But what that would allow them is for them to go in and they'll recognize, well, they got a couple neighbors right around the corner that they didn't know that were there. Because they went in. That's the question
asked all the time. That's the question asked all the time. Is there anybody in my area or whatever like that? But, we also know, as you said, even if you are in some remote area, if you're the only one, just be the only one. But with your app, they could be more far-reaching into the studies. I think it was, I think Cujo had mentioned once, I was listening to something he said, and I really started laughing because his response was to some people who were saying, well, there's nobody in my area, there's no temple in my area, there's no classes in my area or whatever. And he was saying, well, that's good. Now you can really buckle down and study.
You got enough time. No, less distractions. Exactly. And there is no excuse. If you have a phone, then you have an app, and it's free. So there's no reason as to why you can't download it. It's not going to take that much time, no space on your phone. Avail yourself to the technology and improve your situation. So it's these small incremental steps that we take that collectively make the big difference. And if we're all doing it in a quasi-harmony, semi-unified manner, that within itself will begin to solidify even more, because we recognize it's innate that there's always going to be initial humps and bumps. Nothing begins perfectly smooth. That's just an aspect of everything which comes into being, anything. There are those intrinsic faults, blemishes, or what have you, that you work through, and then you improve it. And then once you've improved it, then you expand it and make it anew and continue forward. I mean, when Zuckerberg was making the Facebook from his dorm room, they were just saying that was just basically going to be for the college or for colleges. But a few years down the line, it is this vehicle in which reach more people on the planet than anything else, because that's how they can tell it's trending. They were going through a situation where on the news this morning they were talking about how concerned was utilizing its power to stifle certain, let's say, views that they did not want to proliferate. So it just shows the power of the technology that is at our disposal, and we're not. It's not in front of us in that concept that we're really playing catch-up ball right now, and we need to aggressively roll up our sleeves and think of, each one of us, think of, how can I use that? What can I do with that? Whatever it might be. To go over to Active Moor and say, you mean that I can create my own forum? What do I want to talk about? You mean I can create my own room, public and private, and invite whomever I want and have subdomains underneath it? What can I do with that? Now, even with those things that are going to be coming out of the chamber, now within the chamber tools, that was on the PDF I said, there are over 1 million applications within that can be strung together in any type of manner that wouldn't want to utilize it. Anything from tools that would be good for entrepreneurs to event management to a YouTube type of environment. So it really does, it has the flexibility to expand itself to the extent of the horizon of your mind.
And bro, I don't want to cut your wisdom, but I just want to add on in the most simplified terms for those who may be listening. When you say it's over 1 million apps within the app, the honorary acknowledgement that has to go with what you are doing as far as what you have been doing. You have ActiveMoors.com, you have MoorisDirectory.com, and now you have the Moorish mobile app, which has a bunch of different links to different active Moors. Would it be safe to say, I mean, different people came up in different eras, but for those who are from that era, basically for Moors, and I don't want to just limit it to that aspect because what you're doing is global. And yes, Moors are all over the globe, but basically in your endeavors and intentions in your endeavors, is it basically, can we say that with all the technology that we have advanced with and have been introduced to within, let's say the past 10 years alone, is it basically like the Moorish yellow pages, the phone book yellow pages type of thing? Because I see in it you have so many different ramifications, such as, you have the availability of a chat room. You have the availability of just basically being friends and communicating through the virtual venue with different people. And, even what it reflects what your intentions are is to make sure that the people have as much information and as much direction to go to different Moorish venues, which are all Moors, to get the de jour, perspective on what's needed to be known. It's basically like a virtual Moorish yellow pages. Would I be wrong in saying that?
That's a very good question. It certainly can be to a certain extent because it has so much potential as it will relate to that. And those mechanisms are, in fact, there to, let's say, plug the widgets in to shape and create that. Now, matter of fact, it's kind of interesting that you said that because I had acquired a series of URLs about 3 weeks ago that I was offering to some young folks to consider to utilize that actually the URLs were use a Moor, as in if you need someone to do something for you, why not use a Moor.com, as well as pay a Moor, because we're looking at if you have a task, a job, or something that you're going to pay someone, why not pay a Moor? So we were going to be looking at that vehicle as a possible utility, more similar to what you were speaking of, because that would in fact be a directory of sort where everyone would be able to put in their particular skill, geographical location, what they had to offer our community, so that when we go to it, and then, of course this is something that would grow and would continue to become more dynamic as we fill it with more and more content. But all of these actually have a potential for that. Case in point, on the Moorish directory, advertising is free. And I keep telling people, if you are in business or you are providing a service or whatever it might be, and this is, the advertising is free for those who have proclaimed their nationality. They just simply call up, send me an email, or what have you, and it's on. There's no question, and there's no fee. And this is, that is the type of resource that should be in a hub of that sort. Case in point, kind of a tie-back bridge to what you were saying earlier. The Moors are counterparts, in Great Britain are now connected to the activemoors.com. So we can go into activemoors.com directly into their porthole and start communicating within their forums in Great Britain just by a click of a button. And there's no reason as to why that cannot be so on every other continent. Because we're able. Go ahead, brother.
No, pardon me. I don't want to cut your wisdom at all. But let's say our Moors, our brethren and sister Moors from Great Britain, they connect with the Moorish mobile app. Will they have links to Canaan Land Moors? They will have links to RVBey publications. Would they have links to things like Moorish public records and of that nature? So they basically have a virtual yellow pages in one aspect. That's just one aspect of many.
Right. And that's why I was saying that it is applicable across that, not just in that one illustration that I was saying, but even in the other mechanisms and vehicles, such as the app and the directory. And these are flexible enough where, in fact, they all interface with one another. And they are accommodatable to the full degree. Now, when we connected the Great Britain forum with the activemoor.com, they were extremely excited and pleased to make that link, because they too understood that us bridging these gaps in this manner is in fact what is transpiring. In other words, this is happening now.
Yes.
And it's not theory, and these are not what would you call it? These are not prototypes. These operational, functional utilities that we need to demonstrate our desire to take the fullest advantage of these tools. Because what you don't use, you will lose. I guarantee you. And we don't want to lose the opportunity, because all of this is availing itself to us because of what time it is.
Indeed. Now, if I could just broader perspective, like let's say you have a Moor who thinks they're Negro, black in color, and they've been on Twitter, they've been on Facebook, they've been on Instagram. Would it be beneficial for them who've been on that particular wave to be involved with the Moorish mobile app? And do you think it would not just be benefiting or liberating for Moors to be able to teach them, but for them also to have basically a yellow pages plus more? If they thought they were Negro, black, and colored, do you think that they will also be able to learn and expand themselves in being connected with this particular app?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I get phone calls throughout the week from individuals who, and this is of all ages, who through a friend, family member, relative, a loved one of some sort, have turned them on to one or the other of these vehicles. And they have called me, and just to express their newfound, you know that awakening that occurs. And it was because it was there. Now, they were the day before their call, or 2 days before their call, they were still Negro, black, or colored, until someone turned them on to the app. And they began to, what is this? Let me click this. Let me click that. And by that, they had it in their hand. They had some time on their hands while it was in their hands. And it gave them the opportunity, let's say, for them to go on to, by way of the link, and click the Moorish directory and click on the seal. When you click the seal, then there's a thing that opens up called the Great American Riddle that presents a question scientifically as to even be possible biologically or by the laws of physics for us to have been brought here in a manner in which it's been professed that we have. When, in fact, we recognize that if you're going to be stacking that many people up, some history books say 400, some say as much as 600 on a boat stacked 5 high. Well, if you're going to have individuals in a hull of a ship like that, under those temperatures, while you are, just consider how much water you need if you're not under those conditions. But if you have diarrhea, if you are sweating profusely, you're laying next to a dead body, you're vomiting, all of these things, you're going to need even more water. So they're sitting here and they're reading this and they're recognizing, well, even if they had enough water for half those people on the boat, that it would sink at the dock. And it starts making this logic, and they say, well, how could that happen when you recognize we can only go, it's even biblical, we can only go, 6, 7 days without fresh drinking water. This trip takes 5 months.
Right. That's scientific. So now you're talking the scientific and logic of it all.
Yes, critical thinking. Absolutely.
Not only critical, but also the weight of the fresh water, if it was good water, where was it stored at? And water is the heaviest element.
That's why we float.
That's right.
So if you had enough water for half of those individuals to have a portion of the water that they needed, it would sink at the dock. That's just accumulative physics. That's cut and dry. That's science. So when they're sitting there with the app and they're looking at this, and then they feel, to look deeper and to start clicking a couple other things. But we also have that element out there, brother, that, case in point, it took me, matter of fact, when I received your call earlier today, I'm actually glad that you had called right at that point, because I didn't realize I had already spent 2 hours unplugging people from the activemoors.com. Not just the spammers and those people that will, drift into any site, but those that were coming in, let's say, with wrong intent.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm, going through 500, and then I have another, 100 people in line waiting to be activated, and it's growing exponentially. We're going to have those situations wherein we're going to have the infiltration. We're going to be having those that have a design in mind, and maybe even a plan to try to see that this does not lead in some manner, because there is a great incentive for them to not only, as people were talking about, trying to find fault, but actually to create circumstances wherein it is not able to run as smoothly as it could without that element being there. So I know that that's there, and it does take some concerted time to try to stay up on weeding that out. But there are things that I have begun to devise. At least I began today to devise, I believe, certain plans that I'm going to effectuate that might be able to cut down on some of that. And one of the things is going to be is that I'm going to be putting out some bulletins at the activemoors.com asking people to please put their profiles up, their faces and their backboards, so that I can go down and not necessarily have to just be looking for, the L's and the Ills and the Bays and, and looking at those that are coming in, because we don't want to exclude those secrets, those coming in anew, those that haven't yet, they're still using a European brand.
Yes.
Okay, we don't want to exclude them. We want to see them transition.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And this is opportunity for them to do so. So it's not by any means exclusionary. But it does take, it is going to continue to take some creativity in order to try to safeguard and harden, as they say, like a shell, try to harden the site even more as we go along. And I'm trying to do that with different type of encryptions and things of that nature as we go along, because there's also cyber attacks that we've been thwarting off.
Now, it's interesting you say that. Mm-hmm. So, like, right now, you have some Moors who are already privy to the Moorish directory, to ActiveMoors.com, to the Moorish mobile app. Mm-hmm. Would you say to them that, for their brethren and sistren who might come in, because, like, let's say we take, Facebook or Twitter, that was originally created amongst some European, among other college students, for them to communicate on a particular campus. All right. And the idea was so genius, they got paid and everything like that, and then it was taken over. Mm-hmm. Now, for the Moors who know about this prior to it really expanding, like, not that it's not an expansion tool, but I can only see it growing over the years. It's not, I don't see this staying, in the inception stage, because you have so many ramifications available. Would you say to those Moors who were privy to this day one that they also have a certain obligation to school those who might come in, not knowing fully about being Negro, Black, or colored? They're just they love the concept of Twitter. They love the concept of Facebook and chat rooms and things like that. Would you say that the active Moors who are already on this, when they see that sort of lack of knowledge, do they also have an obligation and an outlet to teach them without being censored? And when
Absolutely.
I say that,
but with decorum.
Yes, absolutely. And the reason I'm asking that is because you have certain Moors who went on Instagram, who went on Facebook, who've been on Twitter, who've been on Gmail and things of that nature. If they start really emphasizing the truth, they get certain censorships, whereas, well, your content is not according to our user agreement and policy. Like, what Moors have to worry about going in and teaching those who may not know, if it gets to that point, will they be censored for teaching on those pages?
No, they'll be most encouraged to do so, and vigorously encouraged to do so. Now, it's interesting that you said that, because I was going to mention the fact that just like those other sites have policies, we have policies as well. Now, I had an option to put up a user agreement on there, just like everything else. Do you agree on all the terms of this thing? And it's a 25-page sheet that nobody reads. They just click I accept, and that's the norm. Okay, and I looked at that and I said, well, we could do that, but in reality, no one's really.
There's a scraping. Yeah. You hear that?
Yeah, I hear that.
Yes. That's. I'm sorry. That was. Apologize. That was me stepping outside. We have a lot of wildlife.
Was that a cricket or something?
No, it was actually. I think it was some baby owls.
Oh, hoochie.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, and tips.
All right.
I apologize. The frequency was probably deafening on your end. I'm sorry. So, yeah, the encouragement would certainly be there, but as far as our policy is concerned, is that we would hope that these are environments where we will, for the first time, have opportunity to show our refinement.
Yes.
And to demonstrate our level of sophistication with respect to how we are and the manner in which we are going to be presenting ourselves in the future. This is allowed for us to set that posture. And it is by doing so, and by demonstrating this, and by communicating and educating, that we will have, others, a young brother, say to another young brother or sister, hey, that doesn't go on here.
Right.
Curtail yourself, or, and then they can even say, or we will report you. And it just takes a second to unplug someone, because we won't have it.
Right. Oh, wow. That's refinement. That's refinement. Sophistication and refinement. It's interesting when you think about it, even with the technology, or with the technology, it actually reflects, our actual social behaviors and where we are. Because, as you said, the same thing kind of happens, with people wanting to, infiltrate, and also their manner of thinking. And one of the main things is, and Prophet Nobuju Ali said this, he said, listen, I've come to take you out of your mental slavery. So we have to recognize that we've been programmed into what we'll call a European mindset. Not that all Europeans are, their minds are not right, but right. It's a matter of going back to the mindsets of your foremothers and forefathers, and that's really basically what you're saying with this sophistication is about, because we already know that what has been taught or what hasn't been taught in most of the institutions of learning, starting with, the lower public, grade schools on up, is the information that's being provided, and it's just no time for folly with it, you know what I mean? And that's the word that this is really great. So,
well, sister, you have, just to interject, you put your finger on an extremely important scientific matter when you're saying returning to the mindset of your forebearers, because really what's occurring in some of these circumstances, especially like if we're talking about the key and people utilizing them, understanding about the learning more about metaphysics and things of that nature, that what is actually transpiring is that we are actually on a cellular level remapping our neural network. And it is allowing for those synapses to re-engage with one another and make those fibrous connections that haven't been connected for thousands of years. And that is on a biological level, physically returning, biologically returning to the state of your forebearers, because we have been short-circuited.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So when we are creating this like-mindedness and this serious approach to what it is we wish to be and bring into fruition within ourselves, then as we sleep, we go to sleep and we have been ingesting this material, and we have been activating ourselves through this, physical process of doing these things. What is actually happening is that we're, the reason that the brain is looks all wrinkly and stuff, because those are grooves that have been literally set into our mind. And then as you change those perspectives, you can see that those valleys and the rest of it will start to rise, and other valleys will start to take shape. And those synapses that are more natural for us, those patterns, those actual fibrous connections that have been separated, strategically separated, when those begin to reconnect, you'll find that things like genetic memory will start to happen more spontaneously. Intuit will begin to grow. And you will actually have possibilities of starting frequencies within yourself that actually do begin to decalcify the pineal gland. And it's through those mechanisms that we become a different people.
Wow. Yes. 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 Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that same growth, again, like you said, we're at this place now for applying. And we see that same thing with the information because we were shorted of it. And you'll see people who have gone into it but didn't really do a full comprehensive study of the subject matter, and they kind of go off in the wrong direction and, and bring the wrong thing to this platform.
Yes, that is true. And to segue back just a half a step, when we're talking about, I mentioned the key because in there it is dealing with metaphysics, and we're talking about assisting those to do things which they might not, I'm going to say naturally do, but actually it's more natural that they do. okay? But they'll be studying things such as road and vortex-based mathematics, okay? They'll be learning fractal geometrics and understanding what the Fibonacci sequence and the cosmic spiral really means in the golden mean. And they'll understand numerical values, as in there's a miracle in each. You follow what I'm saying? There's a new miracle value to every number. And they'll start to understand that the cosmos is the cause of most things. And it's those type of connections.
I like that.
Well,
yeah, I caught that.
It
yeah.
Absolutely, in my opinion, is that. And I have had benefit and opportunity to, over the course of many decades, come to a place of realization that it's not an anomaly when people are able to begin to reanimate these heretofore dormant abilities, because there's nothing really that is supernatural. Everything is natural. There may just be some things that are, let's say, less common. But we are an amazing people that we don't even understand our full potential. We don't even recognize that we are wrapped. Our melanin is a computer wrapped in. And understanding how all of these various resources that we have just within our body are resources that we can begin to effectuate other than purely theorize, and to take out of the realm of scholastic academia discussion into practical application.
Wow. And I have to say, my brother, that is one of the most honorable and noble things that I love about what you've done and what you're doing, is the fact that you went under your science, the Moorish science garb, in the modern days, and made that knowledge that you had applicable. And it's a lot of science, and I almost already feel like you might have to do a part 2 or something, because there's a lot of things that I think we all can be inspired by based off of what you know and what you have done, including the binary code. That could take us into a lesson of numerology and things of that nature. You know what I mean? That's because a lot of people will just be like, oh, the brother created an app, but not recognize the science that you were dealing with, the information that you were dealing with to make that happen, and how that particular process can inspire our youth to take this information to another level. But we have to make sure that we take advantage of it now. Whereas, and when I say advantage, I don't mean abuse of it. You know what I mean? Like, we not, I think everybody will be welcome. Like, this is more or less, what do you have to offer to the world? But people, go on Facebook, Twitter, etc., and they say, oh, I just went to the bathroom. Oh, I just ate at this particular restaurant. But the contrast to that is if they try to come on this particular platform with that, they're going to leave educated. You know what I mean? So if they come on with a post like, oh, I just went to the bathroom, you might have a Moor that comes out the blue and says, the reason it took you so long is because you haven't been eating right. You understand what I'm saying? They also have the aspects of learning based off of anything that they post, because there's going to be adepts on this particular app. And you know what I mean? This is what makes
you're in that environment. and you're in that environment that allows for that to take place. Exactly. And I'll tell everyone or anyone who will listen to me that the Prophet did not place science in the center of it, happenstance, serendipitous, or kismet. That wasn't by chance. He was codifying and letting us know for this day and time that if you have one person, 2, 10, 15, 100, 1,000 people, 1 million people, if you do something scientifically, that is a very specific process. And if each one does it in the manner in which the formula identifies is correct, you will, by the natural course of law and of the laws of cause and effect, have the same result. Mm-hmm. And you can apply that to everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what's interesting, just a bit back, I wanted to make a comment. You had said that, we are made of, like pewter is, our makeup, right? Now, it's interesting because one of our introduction booklets is about the truth about your hair. Now, when you really think about it, when you say to someone, well, look, your hair is your antenna, it's made of silicone, which is what they make computers with today, right? That is something to really apply, to really think about, because sure. It's from the cosmos, as you mentioned, to me, which is why anything that you do with your hair is called cosmetology. This is where they get that root from. Cosmos, to me, cosmetology is dealing with hair, but your hair is that antenna, and it grows in a like crystal in a spiral fashion, and is made up of what computers are. So now you need to start applying and really just sit back for a second and just think about that one thing right there. And
Sure.
Exactly.
And the cosmology is also, to piggyback and build on that, is that because you're talking about a part of your system, and that's what cosmology is. It's dealing with systems. Cosmogony is dealing with genesis of the systems. And if we respect the fact that everything is a system, if we do it systematically, then it'll work. So we apply logic to the factors opposed to simply doing. We do it with an idea in mind. There's a plan, there's a method to the madness.
Indeed. Now, just for those who have been listening thus far, and, again, take someone like myself, I might not have been interested in being on an app or on a internet wave, whereas it's all type of wretchedness to to all of the wretchedness that goes on there, and I say, wow, this sounds very intellectual. It sounds really intellectual. How can I be a part of this? What do I have to do to get involved with this particular app that's being spoken of tonight? What would be the first step? www.what? Where do we go to get involved?
MoorishDirectory.com. This is exactly like it sounds. MOORISH Directory.com, and it's going to be right there on the home page, on the landing page, right where you arrive. If you just scroll down, you'll see a graphic of two phones. One says Android and the other says iPhone. You simply click on it, and you have your app.
Wow.
Indeed.
Okay?
Indeed.
And it's really as simple as that. Now, and then from there, if you want to utilize that to go into or take advantage of the other resources, as well as sites like Sister Roz was talking about, you can do it from there now, from with very little effort, migrate to various places, and maybe even over to active Moors, and go ahead and register, and then start throwing up your forums and your rooms. And within the app, as you stated, there is a chat element even within that, and a couple social networking vehicles within that, and you're in a purely Moorish environment at that point in time.
Wow.
Wow, that's a beautiful thing.
It sure is.
So we are here, and as I said, this is now, and it is what is transpiring, and I would encourage everyone within the sound of our voices to take full advantage of all of the technological resources that you might find at your disposal.
Indeed. And on that note, for those who may not understand how many layers that this has, it has so many dynamics. Would you be willing to explain to the people the dynamics and the diversity of this particular app? Because, yes, all of those who love Facebook, Twitter, etc., they're into social media. They're into this new wave. And then as well, you have, people who are just into different things. But at the same time, with this particular app, you have the ability to, basically do your Facebook thing on a Moorish venue where you're not really censored like that,
And all of this is, yes, absolutely, I'd be more than happy to, and also talk about the future, possibilities, ramifications of what can transpire if people are actively utilizing it in the capacity and fashion in which it, has been intended to be. Now, often what I'll do is I'll use the process of what they call in science reverse engineering, and what I might create may be the last thing first, so that it is, and that's not a cart before the horse scenario. What that is just basically setting it up wherein we then have a control over the push. Okay, now with respect to the app right now, it's in place. It's been, folks have been thoroughly, kicking the tires, and it's stable. So we know that. So now that we have the activemoors.com, we recognize we now have in our hands through the app a vehicle by which to plug in a portal into those vehicles, wherein a cornucopia of resources can be built. Now, we've just made an agreement and contract with Citrix Corporation and Medium in cooperation with ActiveMoors.com. And cooperatively, what one is doing, Citrix is basically allowing for the real estate to exist, okay, the server space, unlimited, okay? And Podium is the mechanism by which the various application technologies can be fused together, or they even have some that are, you can just basically start using them right away in whatever way that they want. Now, there will be key individuals that will be part of that first initial wave of creation, but then that will be expanding to all. But to do the tie-back is that, and like I was saying in the reverse engineering, is that now that we have the app, and now that we have ActiveMoors.com, and if it continues to, let's say, expand in this exponential manner, then we will be able to demonstrate that we Moors are desirous of, that we're worthy of whatever type of support and assistance and the rest that might be available to us to bring these other applications to fruition. Because when you can use your app to go into another app that will take you into a resource that you can use in any way that you want to, it feels as if you haven't left one, really, and gone into the other, but you have. So that's kind of how they tie together.
Islam, and I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. Among the multitude of apps and different links, like I said before, this is almost like the Moorish yellow pages, and which is why I have to salute what you're doing, you know, because it's really important. But just to give the people the diversity of the dynamics that is available through this app, you know, let's say there's some more somewhere right now who's listening to this. They may have not heard of the Moorish mobile app yet, but, you know, they're doing their art. They're doing their craft. They're doing these different things. Would you explain to them and to us all, actually, the diversity that goes with this app? And I ask you that because you have different dynamics, whereas, you know, you have something called the Orpheus tone within the app. You know what I mean? So it's bigger than you just trying to promote your product. This is a social network that is dealing with the liberal arts, the science of the Circle 7. There's so many layers that's embodied in what you are doing, what you have done, and you know, the platform that's being provided to Moorish people and the people in general.
Right. Well, the Orpheus tone that you mentioned, actually, that's the pharmaceuticals company worst nightmare. Because, see, that is a sleep inducer that is completely safe for pregnant women, those that might be wishing to become so. It's safe for those that may have had situations of addiction. It is safe for children, and it is effective. And actually, you even come the following morning or what have you, you are even more rejuvenated than you would be under just normal circumstances, falling, you know, into slumber. And this is actually for sale at other places, but within the app, it's free. And it is a technology that came out of a project that happened quite some time ago, where I was commissioned by Children's Hospital, National Medical Center out of Washington, D.C., and the National Pediatric Association to create a relaxation audio disc for their doctors' stress, to lower their stress. And it was out of that process that I began to wonder, what are the elements that is actually inducing this calm, this sense of relaxation, this mood relaxing scenario, and understanding as an audio engineer also, and understanding a great deal about frequencies and how vibratory influences impact with one another, and you can actually mix these things almost like you would with fluids. To then the process became the what we call that, the where you try this, you try that, you try the other thing, this goes in, that goes out, and the rest of it. And the R&D, research and development, over the course of over the course of 2 decades, has resulted in what we call the Orpheus tone. And the Orpheus tone is actually non-audible. But we had to put a low LFO, which is called low, LFO stands for low oscillating frequency. And it's a tone that goes in there. But that was for our own liability's sake, so that someone, let's say, was not playing it on, let's say they transferred it to a disc, and they had it on the disc because they wanted to relax around the house. They would know that it would be on, and they wouldn't, let's say, doze off into, something they were cooking or whatever, because it's not just a sleep aid, it's a relaxation inducer, where it actually deals with certain aspects of the pineal gland. That we have certain stimuli that can allow for certain secretions that we actually don't completely understand yet, but are very natural to occur. Give us it's not synthesized, in other words. It's not like the drugs that you would use that are from the pharmaceutical company, because it's your natural secretions that are occurring, that are making you relax and ultimately having you fall asleep. And I think I told you about a story where we had a woman who was a registered nurse that had called us because her daughter was going through chemotherapy. And she said that once they began utilizing it, neither one of them have been able to listen to the end of it without falling asleep. So for them, it was really, really giving them the release valves that they were needing, both of them, to make life more bearable under their conditional circumstances. And it's those types of things that, just as an example, as you said, that exist within the app that are at people's disposal to utilize in whatever in their manner they want. But I guarantee that in the opening of that dialogue, that this is the pharmaceutical company's worst nightmare, because you don't need prescription. You don't need to renew it. It'll never run out. And if you have insomnia or what have you, I guarantee you, if you utilize it, the chances are we already know, and when I say chances are, we're talking about mathematically, that it will work for most people. And, of course, you wanted to utilize it under the most optimum conditions where you would be relaxing, placing your earbuds, lay back and cut it on. And having a tool like that, within the app, in my opinion, is really invaluable. I had a brother who runs his trucking business. And he says it works really great for him because sometimes it's hard for him to wind down. And he may have to be going back, on shift or what have you. So he's able to use this to induce his relaxation. And he says he feels like he's gotten 3 hours in and he's only gotten 45 minutes of, rejuvenation.
And his mind.
And all is mind.
And also, before you go on, I do not want to cut your wisdom, my brother, but I do want to take acknowledgement to the fact that, and again, I have to compare it to Cujo's class where he was talking about 120 or 720 degrees, whereas what the science that you're dealing with, this application and how it provides vital life force for the spirit man of Moors and Moors in general, is still dealing with the philosophy of the 7 liberal arts, because you're basically speaking about music in different tones. You have 7 tones and 12 semitones, which is the 7 is the Elohim and the 12 is the Zodiac. So when you're talking about the Orpheus tone, I just want the general listeners, where we usually dropping about law, history, current events. This is a very primitive current event that also correlates with Moorish science.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to understand that what is being said is coming from a Moorish scientist, you know, who may not be boasting of it like that, but just promoting what was manifested based off of brainstorming with the science, you know, and that being the case, I didn't want to let that slip past the people, whereas what you're speaking of right now, as far as the Orpheus tone, is still based off the Circle 7.
Oh, absolutely.
And I say
the thing is...
Mm-hmm. No, I say that because I want people to understand that what you're dealing with, what you're putting on a platform for the availability of everybody, you know, is still dealing with more science, because you're dealing with, like, because a lot of people think the Circle 7, you know, or the philosophy of Circle 7 stops, begins and ends with the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Circle 7 Holy Quran. Yes, that is a part of Circle 7 philosophy, but when we're talking about those cipher of the cipher of the 7, there's so many ramifications. And what I want to take the moment to emphasize is that when we're speaking of this Orpheus tone, it's also dealing with the science of the 7. This is more science. You know, and that should not be overlooked or discredited from you and whoever is helping you, my brethren, because, again, like I said at the beginning of the show, what you're doing, all of the ramifications and dynamics of what you're providing is based off of or has correlations to Circle 7. So you have a lot of, you know, people who love attention, who love all of these things for no reason, but they want to be on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and things of that nature, which is nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? But under this particular app that you have made available, there's so much more than just that. You're going to get so much more from it. And I think that it's imperative to understand not just what you've, you know, put on the platform, but the essence of what it is that you're dealing with. And what we're dealing with, when we're speaking of the Orpheus tones, it's still music, which is one of the 7 liberal arts. Whatever vibration you want to give it, it's still music. And we need to appreciate it for what it is. I just didn't want to let the opportunity to emphasize that slip past, because a lot of people might, you know, like I said, there's a lot of people who haven't caught up with the technology yet. And then there's a lot of people who have. And then there's people who just take it on face value and do not understand the science behind it, which makes it available to you or us.
Oh, and it's just us going full circle, because you said, you know, looking at the scale, the frequency scale, and you're dealing with, you know, what is very common to most people, you know, the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Really what you're dealing with is called the Hermetic Code, okay? And it correlates directly to our DNA as well as our amino acids. And there is more than just a correlation as it relates to that. There is a mirror, actually, that deals with that, because this is truly dealing with as above, so below, the micro and the macrocosms, and understanding how these energies operate. On the Moorish directory, we have a video where it is showing where there's a demonstration where they are sprinkling sand or salt on the top of a thin board, where underneath it they have a speaker, set upright facing toward the Moor. And as you change the frequencies and the tone frequencies, then you see the sand starting to vibrate. And then instantaneously, it'll shift into these geometrical configurations. Now, I took one of those configurations. I think it may have been, I'm not sure, it's 724 hertz possibly. And I froze that because I recognized that I had seen that symbol before. And then when I looked back through what they would call the glyphs, I'm seeing Solomon there with the Ankh in his hand and that symbol in the circle next to him. Because what he was doing and the smaller figures in front of him, he was giving a class on the dynamics of the audio frequencies and the dynamic. It creates structure because sound creates structure. Now, as you dial in these various frequencies, each frequency has its own physical pattern, but that's physical also. Case in point, you can do it, think of a snowflake, okay? Those are physical forms. These types of shapes that I'm talking about, they come into being with respect to the resonating of that board to the harmonics of those dialed in frequencies. Each frequency has its own pattern. So when you're looking at that, you're understanding, well, that pattern looks like Vesica Piscis. That looks like the forming of Pisces. That looks like the structure of an embryo coming into form, coming into shape. And then we recognize that all of these things that are occurring, are dealing with harmonics, frequencies. You know, and that it's like that sound that went out across the firmament.
That's interesting. You should say that they look like the symbols of the different zodiac signs and planetary symbolic symbols, because we know that man must learn by signs and symbols as well. So and this has been told. So to correlate that, it's really very mind blowing or very interesting to do. So it's all connected.
And that's what we're doing, sister. We're making that full circle, because if you look back, one of the most ancient symbols we have is the flower of life. And what we're now doing is we're becoming reacquainted with these things. But now we're being reacquainted on a level where we're understanding them.
Right.
And there isn't, I was explaining to someone that if they go through the key, they can just go through 1/3 of it. I would say if you go through of it, they're probably not a symbol that you won't understand simply by looking at it. Because everything has we have our regular meaning, we have our mundane, we have our esoteric, and then we have our exoteric. And we are now, again, at a point where through science, again, we are coming to understand the exoteric meaning of these symbolisms. And this is what is driving the rejuvenation. And as we take opportunity to envelop ourselves in these opportunities to learn, study, it's not just to be relegated to purely law. It's studying everything.
Well, you know what? And everything is all law. All law. It is. Right.
It is. It absolutely is. And there's a movie, a 7-minute video that if people have an opportunity, go to the Moorish directory, go onto the Mind page. When you navigate into, basically you arrive on the home page, go ahead and click where it says up in the left-hand corner where it says proclamation. And that'll take you inside, and you'll see the tabs across the top. Click the one that says mind. And in the mind page, I put a 7-minute video that we produced out of Moor Media. And what that's doing is it is visually demonstrating, to illustrate. It starts where basically from a camera view, coming back out of the Earth, going out past our solar systems as the various planetary bodies go by us, and we continue out further and further until we can see Milky Way galaxy come into view. That gets smaller, and we continue out and out and out until such point in time where we see the large clusters, the local bodies is what they call it, and then those come together. And as we go out further and further and further, I take you to a point where, in fact, we are looking at separate universes, not galaxies. And then from those universes, we go back in rapidly and take you all the way into the grass on the Earth and then into a drop of water on the grass and then into the DNA within that water. Wow. And that's a void going inward, which is just as extensive as outward. And we are explaining in that this is not the birth of Allah per se in that concept, but this is it's helping one to appreciate that the genesis of our existence within the mind of Allah.
That's right. That's right. That's right. You know, it's interesting, too, because, you know, I was sitting here thinking, and I have said this before, but when we think of, you know, Allah or Allah, you know, law itself, you're talking mathematics, geometrics, you know, you're talking astronomy, you know, which is the geography of planets, astrology, of course, is the effect, but we're talking about law being the length, the angle, and the width of vibration. That's really what it is. If you can, that's what you're gaining here.
Sure. And that's our cube, isn't it? Isn't that our cube, Roz? That's our. That is like I was mentioning earlier today, when they asked Einstein. Now he was one of the foremost, you know, of the 20th century physicists, and they asked him at the end of his career, well, what is this thing? Since you are a physicist, what is this thing called reality? What is reality? And he says, well, it's the same thing that the wise men, the sages, the gurus have said throughout history. It's an illusion, albeit a persistent one. Okay? So with that and understanding that he was never able to get out of the box because he was relegating himself to not understanding that everything comes into the objective plane from the subjective realm. If you look around the room that you're in right now, there's nothing there that was not first in someone's mind.
Now that's interesting because in teaching astrology and understanding the symbolism of it, and even drawing the circle and having the 6 houses that, you know, you call the personal houses, the subjective house it actually is on your personal level before you actually go into society, into the social arena, but it directly affects your objective. What you're subjected to, and that's the lesson that it's trying to teach on that, you know, for your understanding. And
when we're looking at these cubes of consciousness in which we exist, and that's why those angles and dimensions that you were talking about, the width, height, length, all of that is important, because that is the extent of our framework of our consciousness, and that's, you know, Kabbalic in nature. Now, that's why we have terms such as in the incubator, okay? Because this is a processes that we're in right now of evolution. all mankind, we are deity in evolution.
Mm. Mhm.
So as we accept these things, we begin to understand who we are, and we come closer and closer to a greater appreciation that's so enshrined in that man no life.
Mhm. 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 And that's and you know what? And with that, you got to be able and willing to reflect and to see yourself. And I think that's why Prophet Noble Gerali said, listen, man's business is about reflection. You know, and many people may have trouble with doing that if they don't really understand what you just said as to who you are. That's the way you have to go that way so that you can, in fact, reflect, because everything is polarity.
And I would encourage everyone to go on, when you go onto the Mind page, to see the video, which I'm sure that everyone will enjoy and feel inspired by it. And it gives one a very, very, very good feeling, actually, when you watch it. And once you're done with that, just scroll down and download yourself a copy of the key. Now, that is also in the app. You can download it from the app if you want. But it's about 111 or 120 page PDF. And it does take that long to download. But within it, all the way through it, there are hyperlinks that will take you through the process of familiarizing yourself with the dynamics of those, such as the vortex-based mathematics, understanding the importance of fractals, that everything is fractal. You begin to understand that we exist within a binary existence, that this is a digital plane. A lot of that might sound strange. And I told someone once is that if you really understand what is in the key and you begin to express it to people, you're going to have someone ask you, how long have you been off your medication? Because you start going to a place that is not commonplace. But it is certainly fulfilling, because we have greater aptitude than what we realize, because we are never pushed to our potential. No one has ever, we're in a society within a Moor society that we have not even begun to approach even going through that first, what I call permeable membrane of us. We're just pushing through it right now. And the potential that we have is unfathomable. When I say that, I'm talking about almost in the context of the fact that, as we know, a finite mind cannot perceive the infinite.
That's right.
Almost in that degree. So as we go into these new horizons and begin to familiarize ourselves with those things of old, we find that even though there might be, the majority of the links might be provided by Europeans in one setting or another. It might be a physicist. It might be a biologist. It might be a rabbi. It might be whatever, which doesn't really matter. If they have the information, let's get it whatever way we can, because we already know it's ours. It's all more science. And when we avail ourselves with that, from whatever resources we might be able to acquire it, we enrich ourselves. And we don't know the potential of these young geniuses that are out there right now, that are about to come on the scene.
Yeah. For sure.
There is going to be an entire, at the risk of using this word, an entire legion, army of geniuses about to step on the scene.
You
know, and I love the fact that I like to break up words, and that's you may have heard me mention that when I look at religion, I consider it as being re-legioning oneself to that which we were once legion to.
That's right.
So this is re-legioning. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying, I don't want to break your rhythm, but it's interesting you said that, and you can say it again because people do not really know what religion really is. They only know what someone told them that it was, and they operate from that, which is extremely limiting and intended to do so, to keep them from reaching their higher self and this information, universal information and knowledge. That's what it's done. I mean, that's what it means to re-allegiance yourself.
Because we've been frozen, and then we're going back to the frequencies again. Because if you recognize that, I ask people this question. I say, what is the opposite? What is the opposite of love? And the mind will naturally go to, what opposite of love is hate. No, it's not. The opposite of love is fear. Because love is completely altruistic. A mother will stand in front of a bullet for her child at a drop of a hat.
That's
completely, right. There's no self-serving there. Okay? So love is fearless. The opposite of that is terror. And that's why we have so many terror tactics going on right now.
Right.
With respect to them taking down their own towers and everything else, so that they can push us into this wave of viscosity, thick and slow. Because it's slow at our vibratory state, which is more naturally very high resonant, because high resonance, a very high wave can, like a laser beam can slice through things like a hot knife through butter. Okay? And whenever you slow something down, you're actually going in the direction of illness. It's just like if you eat something, it goes into your body, it goes around in your intestines and then out the other side. That's that natural cosmic spiral again. Okay, everything is based upon the same dynamics of nature. But if you have something slow down, and let's say it starts backing up, well, you're in trouble.
Right.
You're talking about, you're in deep trouble at that point in time. So if we use those analogies, we can start to understand how this made-up terrorism thing, and this, don't just be afraid, be very afraid.
Right.
Okay? And afraid of one another, and afraid of what tomorrow is going to bring. Let's everybody just, don't move, because, you might run into something that's going to eat you. So it's using these, that's basically, they're using metaphysics to hold us in that stasis that we were placed into at the time of the Ptolemies. Okay? Wherein as they came in and spread our priests to the four corners of the globe, and that's why we have, as you know, so many similarities with respect to the religion of things, that that kind of turned the world on its head and began the process of us being out of sync with nature and time.
Yes.
And now, nature has a way of resetting itself.
Yes. Yes.
And People look at the earth and they don't realize that the earth is a being just like us, just a different dynamic. When they're talking about fossil fuels, well, there never was enough dinosaurs on this planet to have all that oil. Okay?
Right.
That is the blood of Mother Earth. That's her distillation system. And when you're going through this fracking and the rest of it, you're crushing her insides. We got all kind of sick stuff going on right now.
Yeah.
But we're returning to a point where we're understanding these things. And it's going to have to be us that establishes a moral high ground.
Mm-hmm.
And a beacon that others are going to have to look toward. Literally for their own salvation.
You're so right. For everyone's salvation, really. And that's another thing to get off of, is thinking that it's going to be any other way than what you just said. We will have to do it for that moral high ground, because we can see that there is, it's we use the term fallen humanity, you know what I'm saying? We can see that. And so, and we also know that it's in our hands, no matter what it looks like right now. And what you're doing is making it look a whole lot better, though.
Islam. Yeah. Islam. It is 11:45, and we got like 40 minutes left to the broadcast. Where did you want to take some callers?
Yeah,
but absolutely.
Before we do, though, I have one last question. And my brother Johan Bey, or what we call generally Jonathan Bey. I don't mean any disrespect to your appellation, but at this particular time, I'm asking you or your spirit man, simple question. You was mentioning, hate is the opposite of love, and that.
No, fear.
Fear.
Excuse me.
Fear. Yeah, that's why I'm more independent and fearless and upright.
Love and fear. I thank you for clearing that up. I really appreciate that. I really do appreciate that, because, a lot of the times we contrast love and hate. Though they're interrelated, one of the major things is love and fear, and I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, like who you might be a symbol of productivity for. They might not be able to recognize you right now at the moment, but some of us see you right now at the moment. Your love for the people, which is very obvious based off of the endeavor that you've obliged. Would you just take a moment to explain, the element, just real brief, because I know we got limited time, how the element or the energy of love overrode your fear, because there's a lot of people who have skills, and I mean Moors, they have skills. They might not even know who they are, but they have a fear of, if I step out, I'm going to get attacked this way. Do you just have a really concise message for them to say, no, embrace the love of yourself and be active with your skill and with your thought process, opposed to letting the fear take over them, and thus that becomes an excuse for why they're non-productive, because there's a lot of people who are non-productive because they fear somebody trying to chop them down, and that might not even be the case.
But you know what? If I could add that, it means that they need to learn to follow the dictates of their own soul. But
yes,
they're fearful.
Absolutely. But what I'm saying, in doing that, you have to find love of yourself. And in doing that, that window of, oh, they are, and people start looking outside of themselves of why they cannot be productive. Do you have anything to say to people, you know, whereas they can step out with what they have to offer to the world in confidence and not be in fear of what they think others might think, and be an innovator and groundbreaking being to bring things back to our people that we can definitely use in the future? That's my simple question, Bradford.
Well, actually, your simple question has a very simplistic answer, and it might even seem to be too simplistic for some people, and they might feel as if they didn't get an answer. But if we look and analyze it in reality, as I have, that we'll recognize that, you know, we have this, as the sister was talking about, these self-esteem issues, okay? But we also have this situation where we have historically been taught to tear one another down, okay? And we also have this polyphony of dynamics that have sociologically impacted on us, okay? Now, our noble prophet was a scientist, as you so correctly put out, but he was not just a metaphysician. He was also a social scientist, and he understood the dynamics of a scientific craft. But one of the things that his as we all know, was his focus was love. Now, love is actually a frequency, okay, more than it is a feeling, because love is not, you know, it gets mistaken for passion at times, okay, and it's a very different dynamic. And the simple answer to how I have been able to deal with certain things that might frighten others, as far as, you know, stepping out on a limb and jumping, and, you know, and recognizing are things that you can do that can actually place you in danger, because there are those out there that do not want you to succeed, even to the extent of killing you. Okay, we know that. We might as well just go ahead and put it out there. But you don't have to, in a lot of circumstances, it's very true that, of course, you can deal with your own self-securities. But what I think is more, at least for me, valuable for me to exercise is my trust in Allah. Okay? Because I recognize that as being the omnipotent. And if I'm trusting that, then I don't have to worry about me. I already know that I will fall short. So that's where I rest myself, because I've been given certain unfathomable gifts that I just sometimes sit back and just marvel at how lucky I am. And that is because those were provided to me by our Creator. So he has a hand in this. So why not just let him take the steering wheel?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, before we take the callers, I just want to say, I know, as you know, it takes some people a moment to catch on and things unfold and evolve. We may have to do a part 2 for you to give the people an update of how to, you know, stay actively involved. However, again, being as though we're talking, the conversation tonight was based off of what you have endeavored, among others amongst you directly, have endeavored to provide for the people on a global scale, you know, on an absolute global scale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For them to get involved, wherever they are at listening right now, can you just state, for the record, one more time, what it is that we're talking about? Because we've had a great conversation about your act, but I think people might need to be freshened on what act we're exactly talking about right now before we take any further callers. And then when we take the callers, we can go into everything. But just one more time, what is the app? If I could speak for people who don't know, how do I get involved right now?
Well, it's the beginning of a kaleidoscopic body of resources. And within this cornucopia, which is basically signifies a very, let's say, diversified resource bundles upon bundles. What we're talking about is simply that we are creating infrastructure. And that is an aspect of heretofore what we have been lacking. And everything, as we've said, in many ways this evening, begins in an infancy state. But these things, as we know just by looking at other similar type of phenomena, that they begin to move exponentially. Now, exponentially means that if you have a penny and you add it up daily, that at the end of the month you'll have over $1 million, okay, if you add exponentially. And that's the same way in which things of this nature become dynamic they begin to take on a new life of their own, which is forged out of the energies of the individuals that are utilizing it. It is their individual energies that will be filling this. It'll of course be reflective in the content and the creativity of what it is that they are building, because they'll be building these things within these environments and creating these rooms and these vehicles and these new dynamic ways of communicating. Now, the app itself is basically, as it stands in its present state, a cluster of resources that you can use in various very direct ways, such as the study or the connectivity, or the chat rooms and things like that. But the future implications, which are not far from now at all, okay, is the next phase where, in fact, now that we have the activemoors.com as being an element on the app, it's now positioned to be a direct portal into these other far more dynamic, seamless resources that we really don't even have an idea as to what might be there tomorrow. But we are assured that if people are excited about it and they choose participate, because this is a participatory thing. This is not, sit on the sidelines and watch it. Everyone that is listening right now is the future. And each individual is meant collectively. So this is a physical, real aspect of literally nation building. And we're creating the resources in which we will be able to do things in ways that we have not ever been able to do them before, because we are taking advantage of the pre-existing technologies.
Indeed. Indeed. So with that being said, I know you have a lot more wisdom, explanations to add on for people to get involved and things of that nature. But at this particular time, I think we should let a couple of callers ask their questions towards you. And if we need a part 2, I will be willing, or hoping that you are willing, to do a part 2 on any one of our venues to explain to the people further how this will be beneficial for them to be involved with.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
I don't want to cut your wisdom at all.
Make sure also that we get that exchange of contact information when time allows.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I didn't forget you, but like I said, I had to go because I had to get busy real quick and come right back to what we're doing tonight. So after we hang up tonight and after this conversation is over, I will make sure you have my info direct. You have everybody's info. But, whether we have to bring you on the Sons of Allah, pending, because there's a lot of things to discuss that we might have to go in on this Thursday at 9 o'clock p.m. Me and the brethren, Kujo, Awa, Il, keep that in mind. We have the Sons of Allah, 9:30 p.m. And, yes, there's a lot of things to address. There's a lot of things to acknowledge. So please tune in.
You mean 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock p.m. 9 o'clock p.m. Thursday.
Did I say 9:30? I said 9:30.
You sure did. 9 p.m. Thursday.
Pardon me, but I was on the Unity Mind Wave. Yes, it's 9 p.m. It's Thursday. You know what I mean? And we're going to be going in. But let me also say, with all due respect, tomorrow, Wednesday, we have another broadcast starting at 7:30 p.m. Chill out, relax, listen to the intro jazz music, get your mind right as you were speaking about the different frequencies in the Orpheus tone. That's one of the things I highly appreciate about the Wednesday blog is the fact that, there's a introduction of organic music to put you in the zone. So please tune in tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m., whereas there will be class broadcasted live near what they call Harlem Corporation, which is really Northwest of Maxim, MHHS Island, Aboriginal Appellation, which they later called Manhattan, but it's really MHHS, Manhattawa.
And we'll physically be there at the class tomorrow. We're there at the classes on the second and third week. And
it's a physical class, and there's a lot to be discussed. There's a lot to be discussed.
There is. And I just want to say, because I know we got to take the callers, and maybe it's Brother Jonathan, we can talk about this later, but if there's some link that we could, that would be beneficial for you that we could have on RVBey publication. So we'll talk about that later. You can send the link and whatever you want to say.
Sure.
All right?
Absolutely. We can provide it download from there without any question.
Okay, great, wonderful. All right. And E?
All righty. First caller 803-290. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Maxim, Islam. All righty, wait a minute now. All right, maybe they hit by error. All right, caller 318-210. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Maxim. 475 delegates there. This is what he said about California. All right.
Are you sure they're on here?
I knew.
Yeah, that person sounded like they might have been walked away from the phone or something. Anyways, call in 972-839. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Maxim.
This is Abdul Malik Sabir Shakur Bey.
Islam, no.
Islam.
In contact with my people once again from Northwestern Mexico and the Texas Territory. The brother that was on is indeed real good, but let me go back further and race. Give all honor to our prophet, our illustrious prophet, Noble Drew Ali, Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali, who stepped forward and brought this information to us, although he had a 4-1 Marcus Garvey, but he was the one, as is stated in the books. Here we are today, listening to a brother, Moor brother, that came with the knowledge of inner and outer and overstanding, that we may adjust and get a deeper insight up to our lives through his measure, that we go forward and help build and wake up our people, that we are the chosen one from Allah and everything else is blitz, Islam. What I want to say, we was talking approximately 2 weeks ago when me and my wife went to court. I tell you what, by me, I done wrote half of with pen to the paper of RVBey publication, everything y'all got on the site. I see why Noble Drew Ali said thrice. Study, study, study. Because when you put the pen to paper and they get it to somebody named William Penn, the pen is mine and sword. Now, you can think if we are, as history has decised us and spread us up and painted another face upon it, we are the ones that wrote these documents. We are the ones that did the research, the study, and we are the ones that came up with the evolutionary answer, because we are now, as you know most, that we are in the age of Aquarius, that what has been done and what they are doing now has already been done. Because the Secretary of Globe and the Zodiac, the 12 symbols, it will go back to the definition of the point, and Allah has his time. Regarding, he done prophesied and put it forth, and we can simplify it and try to understand it and analyze it and eject and reject and put out to interject that so-called understanding. Then I know for a fact that I done wrote never wrote a complete sentence before my lips. I wrote 5 writs to these attorneys, and guess what? I had them going back and forth, and this what the so-called judge, she, before any of the plaintiffs or those who bring the charges up on me had any cases to present, she called all the lawyers to the bench, and she made a second plea with all the lawyers come to the bench. So I just turn my head around, because I like to sit up front. I like to see everything. So I turn my head around and say, who the lawyer? And then when I look back, she looking over glass and looking at me, because my wife told me those writs that I wrote, and we got everything good. If that's appropriate to say that everything is good. And we are learning and we are studying. And I would tell the listeners who are listening out there, and I love it, I read it over and over, if you're not able to be who you are, leave these cards alone. Leave this alone and go study as the illustrious prophet told you. Because if you see the road and you think just because you can drive 80 miles an hour and there's a straight road, you better not be speeding down this road with Islam.
Islam, Noble. Islam. Because in each road, I don't care how many people tell you, you know, there's no precautions. You just go full speed ahead. No, fam. There's stop lines. There's stop lights. There's stop signs. All right. Which is filthy stuff of mathematics. All right. And excuse me, because you just took me to a whole nother place in thought. When you look at the book, what is it? A contribution or acknowledgement of the true inventors. Excuse me, Mom, but you can give us the correct title on that. When you look at all of the things that the Moors contributed, the stoplight is one of them. So my thing is, excuse me, but when they try to come at Moors for violating something that we created, okay, yes, we have to respect it. But what I'm saying is that there's a reason why it's there, because there's other people on the path, and, you know, there's people on different paths that are going in different directions. You metaphysically need to take that lesson and let it be made known to yourself that, hold on, I might need to just stop to let these people cross through and clear the path that I'm trying to continue on so I can continue. Because these people got to cross too. Just like they on their path, I'm on my path. This is what I'm saying. It's more science, even down to the traffic light. So when they talk about violating something that our ancestors created, I don't really think they have the right words to even discuss that. But let me also say that correlates to what the brother is doing, whereas that traffic light's a primitive attribute of what we call in technology today. So everybody excited and all happy-go-lucky about their Facebook, about their Instagram, about their Twitter, about all of these things, but they don't consider, goddammit, the traffic light that allows you to cross without threat of accident via observance of common rules. It don't have nothing to do with the European. It has everything to do with order and organization. So you have those traffic lights there for a reason, because there's multiple people on different paths that you have to let them go about their path just as well as they have to respect you on your path.
Let me say this very quick, then you can get some more listeners out in there. And you know what? This was a witness through RVBey publication. I ain't never heard a judge cuss, and the lawyer Laola, that what me and my wife call a Laola cuss, and he I think 3 of them quit on us. Islam. I believe the flow.
They had to recuse themselves, Well, that's awesome. But you know what I like that you said, too, is that if you can't see the road, don't go down the road. That is so, man. That's beautiful. Although there's something, you know, because it's already there. So, Islam, I'm glad that you had, that you applied yourself, because you self-law, our self-law and answer. Islam to you.
Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
Justice. And now everybody can get the information, if they, as we said, through the app. If they don't have anything else, they got a phone. We all know that. So it's a mobile app, and they can study while they're doing, waiting and whatever they're doing.
Islam, and no slight to the callers, but for all of those listening, my brother, can you explain to those for the app that you created, what type of devices will accept, or what type of devices won't accept the app of the Moorish mobile app that we were speaking of tonight? Would you just give a real brief breakdown of what type of phone you need? Because there's some people who don't have at minimum an Android. There's a lot of people who don't have an iPhone. You know, there's people who have different types of computers. Some come with Microsoft software and things of that nature. How can they really get involved with this, and what will it take? What technology do they need? Islam.
Well, basically, anyone who can connect to the internet through whatever means or vehicle would be able to now. Of course, one that has an iPhone wouldn't be able to utilize the Android, nor vice versa, because Apple is a closed technology, and their framework is not third party, which means basically there have to be special programs made specifically for phone. That's why we had so much difficulty in tweaking it to be accommodated by this 6S. We had some difficulties wherein people were having a hard time or not being able to actually for some time to utilize it. With that particular S, those with previous versions, they were able, to use it on the iPhone. But that 6S kind of threw us a little wrinkle. Okay? There was something in it that wasn't allowing for it to take, but that's been accommodated now. It will use your iPads, your Android pads. It'll just look a little bit different depending on your screen configuration, but that's the same thing with a lot of devices and sites.
Absolutely.
And the rest of it.
Absolutely.
So other than that, it's pretty much wide open. And just to build on what the brother was saying there, I could appreciate what he was saying also. When we were talking about the street lights and street signs, the traffic signals, that, people don't take into account that when we travel down the road, there's a huge degree of trust that is going on. We're going to stay in each other's lane, as we are flying down the street, even on local streets, that the guy to the left of us is going to stay to the left of us. He's not just going to come across that line irresponsibly, head on. And that's why I often say to people, just like we have stop signs that are out there that give us indications, we also should recognize that we too have the power to pump our brakes.
Yes.
Because I find sometimes people in their zeal, their newfound passion, and unfortunately the initial zealousness will have them, run into the fan, face first. And if people can trust themselves to pause and equip themselves with that they will need in order to deal with whatever circumstances out in front of them, opposed to getting a little bit and trying to go too far with it and finding themselves in a quagmire. So I just wanted to throw that out since that was brought up, that it's important not only that we go forward, but also that we learn to pump our brakes as well. There's always that balance as well.
Wow.
Islam. Peace to that. All right. So, wow. Next caller?
Yeah, next caller.
Caller is caller 623-907. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Exum. And then we got one more caller after that. Caller 623-907.
Islam. Okay. Islam,
I was about to say, this
family.
brother I seen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, it's just been wonderful listening to that, man. Matter of fact, we on the computer going in on it now. Just thanking the brother and giving honor and thanking the brother for the work that he is doing, because it's needed. It's needed in this time. So, and I really appreciate too that that vibration of the wakening up of the new children that's getting ready to come in this era of time. I mean, I'm grateful to be alive at this point in time, in this era, this cycle of time. I mean, I'm just so grateful to be alive, to feel this here, and to physically see it, you know, but to more to feel this here in this era of time. I mean, I'm just so grateful for that, you know, and so grateful to hear this. And we got our mother-in-law here with us, and she's saying, you know, listening to this here, she's saying, wow, she feel that these young people is on the just on the move. She said she just didn't have no idea. And just to hear this here and then to hear that testimony, it's just grateful. So I know it's one more call. I'm going to leave it short at that this evening. Just peace and love. And I love you guys. I love these guys for all the work that the mothers and the sons are doing there. All right, peace and love.
We love you too. We're breathing to your wife and your family.
Thank you. Certainly.
All right.
And the first principle.
Hey, and then, Brother Asim, did he hang up yet? Brother Asim, did you hang up yet?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I got a question for you. I know your solar return is coming sometime soon, too. Did it come yet?
We near Arizona, so we don't have a daylight saving time, so it's 9:30 here. But on the East Coast, it didn't arrive. May 18th.
Your solar return, your born day.
Yes, May 18th.
Oh, okay. I know May 18th. That would be.
Oh,
today.
so
right now.
We already there on the East Coast. That's born day, bro.
That's right. Tomorrow's the 18th. Well, today's the 18th. All right. Well, happy solar return to you. Peace. I knew that.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
That's really up. Now, hold on. Just for those who might be in different perspectives of existence. All right, you're in a different time zone, but you're still in North America. Now, we know time does not exist, but we're talking about technology and all of these things. Right now, we've been over here, and the sun has been down for a good 4, maybe 3.5 hours. Do you still have a little bit of sunlight in the west? Just for those who may not know the difference in the diversity of being in North America.
No, the sunlight went down here just 2 hours ago.
All right.
2 hours ago, the sun had set it. So, yes, you're correct with that. Here in the central zone of the North American continent, they don't have a daylight saving time. So we don't move the clocks. We stay on the same time period all the time.
Gotcha.
Which is the right time.
Which is the right time, exactly. Exactly. So yes, on the East Coast and then on the west coastal shores and on the East coastal shore, they trick you with that moving of the clock. Yeah. So we don't have that.
That occurred in that 1832 when they brought out that book regarding the cover story for that icon that they call Christopher Columbus, because that's actually when they shifted from what they called the God clock into these other mechanisms.
Yes, we was just reading. I wanted to call it your thesis on your work on Christopher Columbus there. That's on the site. That's another beautiful thing. Yeah, another beautiful thing we can appreciate. But yes, that's the. Say that again.
Certainly worth considering. By all means, I appreciate that.
Oh yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, and out here, they have all these energy centers. You should see when it's a lightning storm and things like that. It's like you can just look out your door and grab the lightning out the air. You know, just it's been phenomenal for me. And it's worked. The climate also works for my nature, so it's good. So with that, family, peace and love.
Peace and love. No,
all right.
Catch that next caller. And thank you so much.
All right. Peace and love. All right, this is the last caller, and we got like 3-4 minutes. Caller 443-376-443-376. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Mexham.
Islam. I am Hassan RVBey at Northwestern Mexham. How's the family?
Islam, greetings.
Peace.
Peace. I was just, and I'll be brief. Just wanted to thank everybody for their due diligence and great selectivity. Brother Cujo for the classes. Miz for always being consistent, in my heart and in my eyes. To the mothers for always encouraging me to continue to keep going. Brother Jonathan, I would like to definitely take advantage of advertising as I sent to the family the Pineal Activations 1437 instrumentals, where each instrument, it's a CD of 11 instrumentals that I composed, where each instrumental, I tuned every instrument at 432 hertz, where when exercising myself, sometimes I go out and connect with the earth, get the current in me, even if, we have some sun. And sometimes I listen to that as I'm sun gazing and breathing, and it's very invigorating, and I've sent it to everyone in the family. And if you haven't gotten it, I will possibly send it again. But I would like to advertise that on the website, that CD, as well as the Adapt Invoking publication that I had prepared. And I'm only doing it for a non-obligatory donation. Like, I've really been giving it to people for nothing. Yeah, really. Like, I've just been giving it away. And Mother Anaid and Mother Raj, you guys are right. When you actually are just doing it out of your heart and you just give things away, yes, the universe does conspire to pay it forward in other ways. And with that, I yield the floor. Peace and love, Islam.
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free, brother, to send send an email to info, INFO, at moorishdirectory.com, and on your subject line, just place advertisement request.
Absolutely, I sure will. Thank you so much. Peace and love. Islam family.
We're looking forward to it, absolutely. Islam.
Peace and love, fam. And before we conclude, I just want to say, brother, I don't, man, when I see that J, I always think of that Y. So I want to say, Brother Johan, but also Jonathan Bey, that hopefully we can get you back on for a part 2 in the very near future, because there's a lot of things that we didn't even get to touch on yet as far as the dynamics of all of the branches. I mean, and I know you can't explain everything. People are going to have to find their way in certain things. But just to go in a little bit more on the Orpheus tone and how that relates to vibration and things of that nature.
Oh, certainly. I'd be more than happy to. And I'll, during that opportunity, I'll go ahead and compile some things that might even be able to avail the family so that we can make the best use of that time. And I'm at your disposal.
Islam, Noble. And again, big thank you for taking the time to endeavor into what you endeavored into. Like I said, man, when I retrospect on this, it's like I feel excited because you are an example of those Moors who have been like a phonendoscope for the pulse of the heartbeat of the movement, and then creating platforms and remedies for us all to communicate and unite. There's no discrimination. So with that, my brethren, I look forward. I honestly do. I look forward to a part 2 of this where you can go in a little bit more. We can ask a little bit more questions because, like I said, there's a lot of people who haven't been inspired to go on Facebook, YouTube, just because they're European venues. They might have certain restrictions and things of that nature, but at this particular time, they're motivated to be on and support what Moors have.
It's summer. Time to get out. No, way out. And then do it again all summer long. Get to Cabela's Memorial Day sale and kick off the summer with huge savings, like 20% off all